When Emma booked her stay at the quaint old hotel in the heart of New Orleans, she was looking for a touch of history and charm. What she didn't expect was a touch of the supernatural. The hotel had been standing since the 1800s, a time capsule of elegant architecture and vintage furnishings. Emma, a history enthusiast, was thrilled to immerse herself in the past. Her room was on the 3rd floor, known as the whispering floor among the staff. She thought it was just a quirky nickname until the first night. As she settled into bed, she heard soft whispers, like a distant conversation. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was urgent. Emma dismissed it as other guests talking in the hallway. The next night, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to be coming from the walls. Emma got up and pressed her ear against the cold plaster, her heart pounding. The voices were clearer now, speaking in hushed, frantic tones. She could pick out a few words: help, trapped, escape. Shaken, she went to the front desk and asked the night manager if anyone else had complained about the noise. The manager's face turned pale. "You're staying in room 307, aren't you?" he asked. When Emma nodded, he continued, "That room has a history. In the 1920s, a young couple stayed there. They were found dead, locked in a deadly embrace. Some say they were trying to escape someone or something. Ever since, guests have reported hearing their whispers." Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Emma stayed up the next night with a voice recorder. As the whispers started, she began recording. To her horror, when she played back the tape, she heard not only the whispers, but also a menacing growl, as if something inhuman was warning her to leave. Terrified, Emma packed her bags and left the hotel immediately. She never returned, but she kept the recording as a chilling reminder of her encounter with the haunted room.
Tom and Lisa were on their honeymoon, eager to explore the beauty of the old Victorian hotel they had chosen for its romantic ambiance. The hotel was a majestic relic from a bygone era, with ornate woodwork and grand chandeliers. It was easy to imagine the place bustling with the elite of the 19th century. Upon their arrival, a bellhop in an old-fashioned uniform greeted them. He had an air of old-world charm and insisted on taking their bags to their room. As they walked through the dimly lit hallways, Tom and Lisa noticed how eerily quiet the place was, but they were too engrossed in each other to give it much thought. Their room was beautiful, with antique furniture and a large canopy bed. The bellhop set down their bags and, with a polite nod, left the room. As Tom reached into his pocket to tip him, he realized he didn't have any cash. "I'll catch him later," he told Lisa. That evening, they decided to explore the hotel. They wandered through the halls, admiring the historical photos and artifacts. When they returned to their room, they found it meticulously tidied, their bags unpacked, and a note on the bed. "Welcome to your home away from home. The management." The next morning, Tom went to the front desk to ask about the bellhop, wanting to leave a tip. The receptionist looked puzzled. "We don't have any bellhops in uniform," she said. "In fact, we haven't had bellhops for years." Confused, Tom described the man they had met. The receptionist's face turned pale. "You must be talking about Henry. He was a bellhop here in the 1920s. Tragically, he died in an elevator accident. Many guests have reported seeing him still trying to serve our guests." Tom and Lisa were stunned. They realized the kind bellhop who had greeted them was a ghost, a spectral servant from another era. They never saw Henry again, but the experience left them with a story to tell for the rest of their lives.
Laura was a seasoned business traveler, used to staying in hotels of all sorts. But there was something unsettling about the old Gothic-style hotel she checked into one stormy night. It was the only available option after her flight was delayed, so she didn't have much choice. Her room was spacious, with high ceilings and heavy drapes that made it feel more like a dungeon than a guest room. As she unpacked, she heard the faint sound of a baby crying. It seemed to be coming from the room next door. Laura, being a mother herself, felt a pang of sympathy for the child and the parents. As the night went on, the crying continued. It grew louder and more desperate. Laura knocked on the wall, hoping to get the attention of the parents, but the crying persisted. Finally, she called the front desk to complain. "Ma'am, there are no children staying on your floor," the receptionist said. "Are you sure you're not hearing things?" Annoyed and exhausted, Laura tried to ignore the cries and eventually fell into a fitful sleep. She was awakened by the sound of her door creaking open. In the darkness, she saw a small, shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed. The crying had stopped, replaced by a chilling silence. Terrified, Laura fumbled for the lamp. When the light came on, the figure was gone, but she could still hear the faint echo of the baby's cries. She spent the rest of the night with the lights on, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. The next morning, Laura demanded to know what was going on. The hotel manager sighed and explained, "Many years ago, a young mother and her infant stayed in that room. The baby fell ill and passed away. The mother, stricken with grief, took her own life. Guests have reported hearing the baby's cries and seeing the mother's ghost ever since." Laura checked out immediately, vowing never to return. The haunted cries of the lost child would forever echo in her memory.
Jack was a skeptic when it came to ghosts. As a travel blogger, he often sought out haunted locations to debunk the myths. So when he heard about the haunted mirror in an old hotel in Savannah, he couldn't resist. The mirror was an antique, rumored to be cursed. It hung in room 213, and legend had it that anyone who looked into it at midnight would see the ghost of a woman who had been murdered in front of it. Jack scoffed at the stories but was eager to prove them wrong. He checked into room 213 with his camera equipment ready to document his stay. The room was unremarkable, except for the ornate, full-length mirror. Jack set up his camera to record overnight and went to bed, determined to catch any paranormal activity. At midnight, he woke up and stood in front of the mirror, his reflection staring back at him. He felt a chill in the air and for a moment thought he saw something move behind him. He turned quickly, but the room was empty. Disappointed, Jack decided to review the footage in the morning. As he watched the playback, his blood ran cold. Just as the clock struck midnight, a ghostly figure appeared in the mirror. A woman in a white dress, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow, stared directly at the camera. She raised a hand, as if reaching out to Jack, and then disappeared. Shaken, Jack replayed the footage multiple times. The woman's image was clear and unmistakable. For the first time in his life, he couldn't rationalize what he had seen. He packed up his things and left the hotel, his skepticism shattered. Jack wrote about his experience, but it was different from his usual debunking articles. This time, he admitted that there are things beyond our understanding, and sometimes the legends are true.